Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show with me, Kavita Thapliyal. Now, having the right kind of insurance is one of the most important aspects of financial planning. It saves you from financial loss by acting as a risk cover. Today on The Money Show, we'll analyze the right kind of life and health insurance for NRIs and also students who go abroad. What kind of insurance coverage is crucial for them? Let's get all this planned. And with me, I have Amjad Khan, Executive Director, Employee Benefit Practice and International Businesses, Anand Rathi Insurance Brokers. Amjad, good evening and welcome to the show. Let's talk about NRIs, where the regulator has also made it very lucrative for them to buy life and health insurance. So what's the current change which act as a relief for them? And also what kind of life and health insurance are we talking about for NRIs?
So hi Kavita, good evening. Yes, the regulator has brought about a lot of flexibility and rather it's an attractive proposition today for the NRIs, especially when they have to think of buying a life insurance policy or a health insurance policy. Now let's look at it this way. Last couple of years back, the regulator along with the Ministry of Finance came up with this, that the NRI can buy a life insurance policy or a health insurance policy in India without a GST. So that means they're getting a waiver of 18%. And that's a lot of substantial amount of cost reduction whenever he's buying these kind of policies. So that's a big benefit. And I think that's an attraction point for an NRI to buy a health insurance policy or life insurance policy in India, especially when he makes the payment of the premium through his NRE account. And that's where he gets the GST waived off.
Amjad, what about the premiums? Is there any difference? Premiums are different for NRIs, and also is it country dependent, the kind of coverage that they should get?
So yes, Kavita, yes, it is absolutely country dependent since we're talking about a worldwide coverage. So if you look at the way the insurance companies divide the entire globe, is they have a US, non-US kind of a division. And within the non-US as well, you have certain countries which are a decline list. As you know, the current situation of the global country scenario where wars has become a commonplace, like Russia, Ukraine, now Israel has joined with Palestine, and all those things are catching up. So therefore, the risk profiling becomes very critical for the insurance company, and there would be certain countries which would be under the decline list of these insurance companies. As far as the pricing goes, there would be a slight increment compared to a local policy issued out in India, but the difference would not be much. It still makes for a lot of lucrative sense in terms of cost saving for the NRI to buy a life insurance policy or a health insurance policy from India.
Amjad, do NRIs need to come to India to buy a life or a health insurance? Is their physical presence a must?
Yes, so I think here there's a big catch, Kavita. What happens is the moment you apply for a life insurance policy, or for that matter, even a health insurance policy, the insurance company might want you to undergo a health checkup. So let's assume that you are in London and you want to buy a health insurance policy or a life insurance policy from India, and the insurer asks you to get a health checkup done in London. Now, trust me, the cost of that health checkup would be very, very high. But that would be a prerequisite. The insurance company is not going to bear that cost because you're in London. So in that scenario, you'll have to pay that health checkup cost out of your pocket. So the best way I would suggest for NRIs is whenever they visit India, that's the time they should take the life insurance or the health insurance policy. Because whenever there is a health checkup required by the insurance companies in India, the cost is usually borne by the insurance companies.
Talking about the amount of coverage in terms of services which are offered, are there more features offered to NRI customers, or it's just same across the board?
It's more or less similar. It's just that the health insurance becomes a little more comprehensive. If you look at the health insurance proposition which is laid back to the NRI customers, that's pretty wide, right? In India, the IPD is the core coverage which you get. That means inpatient hospitalization. But if you look at the NRI portfolio, there is a provision of OPD covers as well. There is a provision of critical illness cover. There's a provision of health hazards and all those. Mental illness is all those things are also covered, and that makes the proposition for the NRI's health insurance very lucrative. The life insurance is more or less on the similar lines. He might have the provision of those riders like critical illness and other riders which are there in the life insurance companies at a much more expanded bandwidth than in India. In fact, the sum insured could be much higher when an NRI buys the policies. But broadly, the underwriting or the policy coverage and benefit would be more or less similar. But it's just that he has the flexibility to choose more benefit and more advanced benefit under these plans.
Right, let's move on to our second aspect of health insurance, which is for students studying abroad. What packages or what kind of insurance policies are we talking about?
So students policy is a big hit. As you know, Kavita, the number of students, Indian students going out abroad for their higher studies is increasing by the year, right? The number is going drastically up. So there is a definite need for that kind of protection, especially for the Indian students studying abroad. So travel come health insurance is a combined product which most of the larger companies provide in India, like a Tata, Bajaj, or many others are there in the fray who provide these solutions. Even the likes of standalone health insurance companies also have come up with these solutions as well. Now, what does this policy do is it gives a comprehensive coverage to the students, right from covering the transit risk. When I say transit risk, that it could be delay of baggage, in fact, loss of baggage, loss of passport, all those things would be covered. Any illness or even a hijacking of the plane is covered in that. And the larger part on the health and well-being of the student abroad is it also gives you a protection against any kind of hospitalization if it happens in that foreign country. So that is the bigger cover, because that coverage there is can come up to $500,000. That is $5 lakh. That is substantial amount, right? If you convert that into Indian rupees, it's 40 lakhs coverage. So that's the kind of coverage the student would have in those countries. Besides that, he can also add critical illness, terminal illness, and you can have accidental death benefits. You can have sponsorship coverage. You can have in case of any wrongful detainment by the police, you can have the bail bond coverage. So the features under the health plan, travel plan for students is very wide. So the student has to wisely choose what kind of coverage he needs, which countries he's studying in. And apart from that, it is quite cheaper. Now, let's look at it this way. If he has to buy this plan in those foreign countries, it would be very, very expensive. So that is a big advantage when he buys those policies from India.
All right. Let's talk about the premium and also the claim settlement. What would be the procedure for that?
So premium would range anywhere between 10,000 to 45,000 per annum, depending on what kind of limits the student has chosen. So it's more or less 15-20% up and down with different insurance companies. So that's the range. Coming back to the claim settlement process, the settlement process is very simple. I think they have a global support center number, which the students will have it at all point of time. In case of any such requirement where they need to get in touch with the insurance companies for a claim process, they would have a dedicated person assigned to them in that country who would help him with all the process, which includes the documentation process and the touch points within that hospital or in that area wherever he requires to submit or make the process very seemingly easy for the student. And that's how these call centers are trained and set up. So in case of such eventualities, the student has a great support in terms of filing his claim and rather processing his claim and getting the amount settled as well.
Also, are we talking about individual health policies over here, or we can also get this covered via family floater?
So the student plan is an individual plan.
Okay. All right.
And
yeah. Which also covers the travel aspect in it.
Which also covers the travel aspect. But if we go back to your original thing, the NRI thing, there you can cover your families as well under the health plan.
Okay. Talking about student health coverage, what plans would you recommend and why?
So, Kavita, as I said, there are quite a few companies who are providing these coverages. If you look at the most prominent coverages which people have been using is from companies like Bajaj, ICICI Lombard, Tata, Care. So these are the more privileged plans which are very frequent among the student category. But as I said, there are more than 20 companies who have similar plans under the student travel plan, which includes the travel health as well as the travel risk. So you have a lot of options to select. As I said, the cost is going to be an important factor for people who are buying these plans. But at the same point of time, you have to assess the coverage and the country in which you're going to study. So all in all, a lot of options on the ground. You have to be really wise to pick up the right thing for you.
All right, I think that will be all. Thank you so much, Amjad, for being on the show and helping our viewers with various aspects of life and health insurance today.
Thank you, Kavita.
On that note, it's a wrap on the Money Show as well, but then I'm going to leave you with our WhatsApp number and email ID where we keep waiting for your questions and we get your questions answered by our experts live. So do send us your queries on our WhatsApp number 865-797-4571, email ID themoneyshow@etnow.tv. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.